We all expected this. I even called it out before the game in my live. But somehow, booing DeWanna Bonner has become...
Picture this. You spend an entire basketball game running your mouth, taunting fans, making threats, and acting like the toughest player on the court. Then, when it's time to face the cameras and explain your actions, you completely vanish. That's exactly what happened to Alyssa Thomas, and now she's paying the price in the most embarrassing way possible. What we witnessed wasn't just poor sportsmanship. It was a masterclass in cowardice that exposed everything wrong with some players' attitudes in today's WNBA. Thomas had all the energy to start drama during the game, but when accountability came knocking, she was nowhere to be found.
So Alyssa Thomas had all the smoke for the Fever fans. That's all I'm going to say. Like, it wasn't just like just normal smoke. It wasn't just normal beef. It was what people from the country will call Dublin. She had the big smoke. Like, she absolutely had all the beef for... She, let the fans hear it, all of this stuff. Satu there, telling the fans to keep up the booze. And what did they do? They lost. And what did Alyssa do?
The Phoenix Mercury rolled into Indianapolis on Wednesday night, and Alyssa Thomas came ready for war. From the opening tip, she was locked in on one target: the Indiana Fever fans who were giving DeWanna Bonner the business. Every possession, every timeout, every dead ball, Thomas was jawing with the crowd like she had a personal vendetta against every single person in that arena. But here's where things got really ugly. Thomas wasn't just exchanging typical game banter. According to multiple witnesses and video footage, she was telling Fever fans that Bonner came to play for a real team. A real team. The audacity was off the charts, especially considering what was about to happen on the scoreboard. She was gesturing at fans, barking instructions to keep booing, and basically turning herself into the villain of her own movie. The woman was so fired up that she looked ready to hop into the stands and settle things personally. This wasn't competitive spirit. This was someone who let emotions override professionalism.
Supposed to be a celebration right now in the WNBA dump, but for some reason, and this should come as a surprise to no one, for some reason, WNBA players, they're just not in a joyous mood. They're not in the mood to express their appreciation, their gratitude to the people who gave them something worth celebrating. Instead of showing their appreciation, these bitter, entitled, insufferable players, they continue to engage in a war with their own.
To understand why Thomas was so heated, you need to know the DeWanna Bonner story. This isn't just about some random player getting booed. Bonner signed with the Indiana Fever in February 2025 with massive hype, marketed as the veteran presence who would guide Caitlin Clark and transform the franchise. Instead, she gave them exactly 9 games before everything fell apart. 9 games! That's not even a quarter of the season. In those brief appearances, Bonner posted career-worst numbers across the board. 7.1 points, 3.8 rebounds, terrible shooting percentages, and 0 positive impact on team chemistry. After losing her starting position just 3 games in, she took a mysterious 5-game absence for personal reasons. But everyone knew what was really happening. Bonner had mentally checked out. She wanted a trade, specifically requesting Phoenix or Atlanta. And when the Fever couldn't find a partner willing to take on her bloated $200,000 contract, they had no choice but to release her. So, when she returned to Indianapolis wearing a different jersey, the fans remembered exactly what she put them through.
Bonner, first time coming back to Indianapolis after pretty much quitting the team. And I'm sticking to my guns saying that she quit the team because in my eyes, that's definitely what she did. Now, she went on record and stated that the role that she had possibly wasn't good enough for her. The fit just wasn't working. But at the end of the day, all of it points to the arrows of what? Quitting the basketball team. There's no way to justify it.
Thomas saw those boos and decided to make herself the defender of a player who quit on their team. She spent the entire night telling Indiana fans that their organization wasn't good enough, that Bonner had upgraded to something better. The irony was about to become painfully obvious. Every time the crowd got louder, Thomas got more animated. She was pointing, shouting, and reportedly telling fans they could meet her after the game if they had a problem. This wasn't veteran leadership. This was playground behavior from someone who should have known better. The trash talk reached its peak when Thomas made her real team comment. She was so convinced that Phoenix was superior, so confident in her team's ability to dominate on Indiana's home court. The disrespect was palpable, and it was about to backfire in spectacular fashion.
Where basically you can see Alyssa Thomas going back and forth with a fan, man. I mean, she just, I don't know if she just can't ignore anybody that's just coming at her, you know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure it's not anything racist or anything like that. I just think they get under her skin. they just get under her skin. And maybe since her first incident, whatever the case may be, she just didn't like it. So after that, she just can't stand any other female fan base.
Then reality hit. Despite all of Thomas's tough talk, despite her team getting DeWanna Bonner back, despite playing a fever squad missing their superstar Caitlin Clark, the Phoenix Mercury lost 107 and 101. They got outplayed, out-hustled, and embarrassed by the same fake team Thomas had been mocking all night. The loss made every single one of her comments look foolish. If Phoenix was such a real team, how did they lose to a shorthanded Indiana squad? The fans she'd been taunting were now celebrating a victory over the players who thought they were too good for Indianapolis. Thomas had talked herself into a corner. She'd spent 4 quarters building up this persona of the fearless veteran who wouldn't back down from anyone. The fans, the media, everyone was waiting to see how she'd handle the aftermath of her performance and her team's disappointing loss.
2025 WNBA media access policy states no later than 10 minutes following the game, each head coach and 2 players, leading scorer and key contributor per team, be available in separate press conference room for in-person Zoom meetings. AT and the Mercury will likely be fined because they chose to break the rule. It's looking like Alyssa Thomas and the Phoenix Mercury are going to be fined because she just said nah. She just said nah.
That's when Alyssa Thomas did something that shocked everyone. She completely disappeared. While her teammates and coaches prepared for the mandatory post-game media availability, Thomas was nowhere to be found. The same player who had been so vocal, so confrontational, so ready to defend her actions during the game, suddenly became invisible when it was time to face questions. The WNBA's 2025 media access policy is crystal clear. Within 10 minutes of the final buzzer, each team must make their head coach and 2 key players available for press conferences. This isn't a suggestion or a courtesy, it's a rule with serious consequences for violations. Thomas wasn't just a key player that night. She was the story. Her interactions with fans, her comments about Bonner, her whole performance demanded explanation. The media was ready with questions, the cameras were rolling, and the league was watching. But Thomas chose to hide instead of showing up.
We seen Alyssa Thomas jawing at it with fans, kind of, making a complete fool of herself, and now she's finna be getting fined because she refused.
While Thomas was playing hide and seek, her teammates stepped up and handled their responsibilities like professionals. Coach Nate Tibbetts faced the media despite the disappointing loss. Kalia Copper answered questions with composure and maturity. They understood that being a professional athlete means showing up even when things don't go your way. The contrast was embarrassing. Thomas had been the most vocal player on the court, the one creating drama and stirring up controversy, but when it came time for accountability, she left her teammates to clean up her mess. These players had to field questions about Thomas's behavior while she was probably already on the team bus. This wasn't just about avoiding awkward questions. Thomas's disappearing act sent a message that she could dish it out, but couldn't take the heat when consequences arrived. It showed a complete lack of leadership and professionalism that her own teammates had to witness.
This is a game of sport where 2 teams are going against each other, right? 2 rivals, 2 fan bases, right, are going against each other. You are allowed to be talked about, all right? You are allowed to be talked about as long as they are keeping it within the game and, not really attacking anything personal or talking about family members or, you know what crosses the line, right? Y'all know what crosses.
The fan reaction was swift and brutal. Social media exploded with criticism, calling out Thomas's hypocrisy. people who had been neutral observers suddenly became invested in the story because of how cowardly her actions appeared. All that smoke for the fans, but can't face a microphone, became the theme of countless posts. Fans pointed out the obvious contradiction between Thomas's tough guy act during the game and her complete absence when accountability came calling. The criticism wasn't just from Indiana supporters. Basketball fans across the country recognized the unprofessional behavior. Even casual observers could see the problem. Thomas had positioned herself as this fearless veteran who wouldn't back down from anyone, but her actions proved otherwise. She was tough enough to threaten fans, but too scared to explain herself to reporters.
After 3 games in a starting role, Bonner was moved to the bench in favor of shooting guard Lexi Hull, and 6 games later, she was done with the Fever. The Fever originally cited personal reasons for her absence, but what I learned later, again from multiple sources, was that the team was actually actively shopping her on the.
The league's response was predictable and appropriate. Based on previous violations of the media availability rule, both Thomas and the Phoenix Mercury organization are facing significant fines. The precedent is well established. Angel Reese got hit with $1,000 for the same violation, while team fines have ranged from $5,000 to $25,000 depending on the circumstances. The New York Liberty faced a $25,000 fine and had 3 players fined $2,000 each for declining media interviews after a finals loss. The Seattle Storm paid $5,000 for not providing the required number of players for post-game media. The message from the league has always been consistent. These rules aren't optional. Thomas's violation was particularly egregious because she was the central figure in the night's controversy. Her absence wasn't just a rule violation, it was an abandonment of professional responsibility that left everyone else to deal with the fallout she created.
I boo people for less. I boo people for way less. Like if somebody played for my team, my favorite team, and they left after 9 to 10 games, wasn't a good fit. I'm sure she dealt with some shit. I'd feel the type of way her coming back into my house. That's just fandom, okay? So, again, open to constructive feedback. I think that's sports, man. I'm going to be booing people all the time. I love it. Boo. I love.
This incident exposed a larger problem within the WNBA that many fans and analysts have been discussing for months. The league is finally getting the mainstream attention it has always wanted, but some players aren't ready for the accountability that comes with that spotlight. For years, WNBA players operated in relative media silence, protected by limited coverage and friendly local reporters. But with national attention, sold-out arenas, and genuine fan investment comes real scrutiny. Some players are thriving under this pressure, while others are cracking. Thomas's behavior highlighted the disconnect between wanting respect as professional athletes and refusing to fulfill basic professional obligations. You can't demand to be taken seriously while acting like accountability is optional.
Now, I believe Angel Reese did this last year, too, after this Indiana Fever game. She had refused to talk to the media for whatever reason, but it seemed like this is what they do in this league. Like, when things don't go their way, they just refuse to talk to the media, which is so freaking weird to me. So, this was released today. And it stated, Alyssa Thomas provoked last night that she's the lamest of lames. All that is talking and then ducks the media presser. That's exactly what she.
The most telling comparison came from how other players handle similar situations. Caitlin Clark faces intense scrutiny every single game, takes hard fouls, gets targeted by opponents, and still shows up to every press conference with professionalism and maturity. She answers difficult questions, owns her performances, and never ducks responsibility. Even DeWanna Bonner, despite her messy exit from Indiana, showed up and played her 21 minutes without creating additional drama for her new team. She took the boos, handled the hostile environment, and conducted herself professionally despite the uncomfortable circumstances. But Thomas couldn't even face a microphone after talking trash all game. The contrast was embarrassing and highlighted exactly why some players aren't ready for the bigger stage the WNBA now occupies.
Every time something positive happens to this dump of a league, they spoil the celebration. And the WNBA continues to prove why they are not ready for prime time. Caitlin Clark enters the league, and literally overnight, the WNBA is pushed into the mainstream. When you go from complete anonymity to mainstream exposure and you're not ready, the problems of your league will be exposed and magnified. All of your warts will be uncovered. When you're not used to being recognized, when you're not used to being criticized, and all of a sudden you're dealing with both on a daily basis, that can lead to frustration.
This controversy represents everything wrong with the entitled attitude some WNBA players have developed. They want the benefits of mainstream success, better pay, bigger crowds, national coverage, but they bristle at the accountability that comes with it. They want applause without expectation, support without scrutiny. Professional sports don't work that way. When you step onto that court, you're accepting a contract that goes beyond just playing basketball. You're agreeing to represent your team, face the media, and handle both success and failure with professionalism. Thomas failed that test spectacularly. She showed that she could talk tough to fans, but couldn't handle the basic responsibility of explaining her actions to reporters. That's not leadership. That's the behavior of someone who isn't ready for the spotlight she claims to deserve.
Like the booing and everything, DeWanna brought that in herself. Let's be completely real. Even Nate Tibbetts was just like, well, yeah, this is... Their coach was even like, well, yeah, this is sports. This is sports. And
the WNBA is at a crossroads. Players can either embrace the accountability that comes with their growing platform or continue this pattern of avoiding responsibility when things get uncomfortable. The choice is theirs, but the consequences are becoming more apparent with each incident like this. Thomas had the opportunity to explain her perspective, show some leadership, and turn a negative situation into a learning moment. Instead, she chose to hide, leaving everyone else to deal with the mess she created. That decision will cost her financially through league fines, but more importantly, it cost her credibility as a professional athlete.
There is no denying the fact. WNBA players are frustrated. Hell, this league has been filled with whiners and complainers for the last 30 years. For 28 of those years, no one was paying attention. Now, the bitterness has been magnified. They're complaining about their minimum wage salaries. They're complaining about the media coverage. They're complaining about criticism. Instead of venting about these complaints privately, WNBA players, they choose to do it publicly. And who is the number one target of their frustration?
The league's message is clear. If you want to play in the big leagues, you better be ready for big league accountability. No exceptions, no excuses, and definitely no disappearing acts when the cameras start rolling. Thomas learned that lesson the hard way, and her bank account is about to feel the consequences of her unprofessional behavior.